Imagine you are sitting in a quiet coffee shop, facing a 76-year-old woman. Her eyes were calm. Her hand holding the teacup trembled slightly, and then she leaned over and said a very short sentence to you, but it made your heart stop. Not because it's flashy, but because it's strangely true. True to what you're going through, to the conflicts you're keeping inside. What would you do if someone who had experienced war, loss, love, and pain gave you a map to live in a peaceful and meaningful life? Life is so fast now. Everything keeps rolling by, and sometimes just one small thing happening is enough to shake us up. Some days you feel like everything is going well, but just one unsatisfactory text message, one unsubtle word, or a small failure makes you feel like the whole world is against you. I have been there wondering, why me? Why is everything so difficult? And the more I worry, the more confused I become. The more I tried to control it, the more helpless I felt. We live amidst the pressure of work, relationships, expectations, and the fear of not being recognized. The thing is, no one taught me how to deal with such times. I kept trying, enduring, and then gradually exhausted myself. But if there is another way of living that is gentler, more proactive, and really helps you stay calm amid all the turmoil, would you want to try it? It was raining lightly that day, so I stopped by a small roadside cafe. In the corner of the shop, there was an elderly woman sitting alone by the window, holding a cup of tea, her eyes quiet but unusually warm. For some reason, I found myself attracted and chose to sit near her. We started talking very lightly, just about the weather, about books, and then gradually she told me about her life. She had been through war, had lost loved ones, had loved, had been hurt, but she told everything in a calm voice, no sadness, no anger. And then she looked at me, smiled, and said, "You know, life is not what happens to you. It's how you face it." It sounds so simple, but in that moment, I felt like I had just been awakened. She told me that most people live their whole lives just reacting to happy events with joy, sadness with depression, disappointment with blame. But then she stopped, gently put down the teacup, and said, "The important thing is to know how to stop and ask, what are we in control of, and what are we not in control of?" I sat there, silent, and everything suddenly became clearer. She calls it the art of letting go. Not the kind of abandoning everything, but choosing what's worth keeping. Like when her husband died, the pain was real, but she didn't let herself get carried away. Instead, she takes care of her children and grandchildren, maintains her health, and continues to spread warmth to those around her. I realized sometimes letting go is not weakness, which is a way to yourself. Focus on living fully with the rest. When listening to her share, I suddenly thought, this is the spirit of Stoicism. Even though she didn't call it that, the way she lived, the way she thought was stoic, in the most natural and pure way. She doesn't try to control everything. She doesn't let herself get caught up in things that are out of her reach. She just chose to focus on what she could do to stay calm, be kind, and take care of what was left at hand. I am reminded of a quote from Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not over external events." And yes, that woman lived as if she had understood it a long time ago, without needing anyone to teach her, without needing books. Stoicism, in the end, is not a philosophy to read, but to live. And sometimes, the most inspiring people never mention the word philosophy. Let's say you just missed out on a promotion, or someone treated you unfairly. The feeling of disappointment and anger is very real. But instead of getting caught up in asking, why me? You can try stopping and asking something else. What control do I have in this situation? You may not be able to change your boss's decision, but you can completely control how you react, how you continue to learn, develop, and maintain your own values. I've tried doing that in my own work. Instead of letting frustration control me, I focus on what I do best. And slowly, things began to change. Not because the situation is less harsh, but because I am stronger. When you practice this regularly, you will see you not only overcome difficulties, but also grow from seemingly unfavorable things. She told me something that I still remember. The happiest people she has ever met are not people who have an easy life. They are people who appreciate the little things, stay grateful, and keep moving forward no matter what happens. It sounds simple, but when you truly live with that spirit, you will find everything much lighter. A quiet morning, a warm meal, a well-timed hug can all make your day worthwhile. I started to practice looking at life like that. No longer waiting. I started to practice looking at life like that. No longer waiting for big things to feel like my life is meaningful. It's that even in very ordinary moments, I can still feel like I'm living fully. And from that simplicity, I began to understand what a full life is. She told me, most of the things we fear actually never happen. That sentence sounds light, but it made me think for a long time. How many times in my life have I drawn up worst-case scenarios for myself, only to realize later things weren't that bad? We often spend too much energy worrying about things that are yet to come. And it's that worry that exhausts us, not reality. She chose to live differently. She focuses on the present, on the book she is reading, on the warm meal, on the conversation going on. Not because she doesn't have worries, but because of her choose to pay attention to the things you're touching. I think if I can also do that and live more deeply in the present, my perspective on life will be much lighter. Before saying goodbye, she looked at me, smiled, and said, "When you leave this world, people won't remember how much money you have or what you achieved. They will remember how you made them feel." I got choked up when I heard it, because really, the people I remember most in life are not the best or most successful people, but the people who were kind to me, who made me feel understood and safe. And from that moment on, I thought differently about my values. Maybe the greatest legacy we can leave behind is the way we live with others every day. Before I stood up to leave, she leaned over, looked at me very gently and said, "You will see, life is not in the big things. It is in the laughter of friends, a quiet morning, or the gentle sunlight on your face." I could only nod and stay silent. From that conversation, I understood that being stoic is not about being cold or forcing yourself to be strong all the time. It's knowing how to choose what you focus on, knowing how to let go of the impossible, and finding fulfillment in this very present. If a 76-year-old woman, having gone through so many events, can still live gently and peacefully like that, then I believe you and we can do it too. Just every day, I go back inside a little, slow down a little. That's enough to get started.